So we have completed the discussion on first experiment, and that is reaction of beams. Today we are going to start with the discussion on next experiment, second experiment in the row, and that is belt friction. So to start with, first let us understand few prerequisites for this experiment. So let us try and understand what do we mean by friction. Let us perform a thought experiment. Let us perform a thought experiment where in a vacuum you have two objects in contact along this contact surface, and mind you, these two objects are isolated from any gravitational field. There is no gravitational field. Let us say that these two objects are massless, so that there is no gravitational force directed from center of gravity of one object to center of gravity of another object. So therefore we will assume that these objects are massless. So it is difficult to meet all these conditions. Therefore I am going to call it as a thought experiment. So we are just doing a thought experiment. We are thinking aloud. So these objects are massless. Let us assume that. And these objects have been acted upon by forces P and N as shown. And under the action of these forces P and N, these objects are in equilibrium. Equilibrium. And you are going to apply a force F as shown here, and you will go on increasing the F till two blocks are about to slide over one another. So I think the thought experiment is clear. I will put once again tell all the conditions that are required. Imagine that there are two objects which are in contact along this contact surface in the space. These two objects are devoid of any gravitational field by any planet, any star. Then these two objects are massless, therefore there is no gravitational pull from center of gravity of one object to the other. And these objects have been acted upon by a pair of forces P and N. Under these forces, the object is in equilibrium. That means either it is moving with uniform velocity in particular direction, or it is at rest. Any one of the condition is satisfied, but there is definitely no relative motion between the two objects. And then you are applying a force F as shown here. You will go on increasing F till you achieve a condition where two blocks are about to slide over one another. So let me ask someone to unmute. So Kushal, can you unmute? H3 batch 47 roll number. Kushal, can you unmute? No response in chat box, no response on microphone. I will assume that the student is not present. I will put him in waiting room. So Kushal, are you there? No response. I'm moving Kushal to lobby. Okay. Prajwal, roll number 43, batch is not mentioned. So Prajwal Mando, are you there? Prajwal, can you speak? Yes. Okay. So are you with me? We are doing a thought experiment. Have you understood the setup of the experiment?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, let me ask you a few questions. Imagine that P is 0. That means we have not applied any force P. P equal to 0. So what will be the value of N is my first question. बोलो कैसे calculate करोगे? Yes, Prajwal. I am not able to hear you, Prajwal. Am I audible to everyone? Please unmute and let me know.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Prajwal, are you there? I need response either on microphone or in chat box. Otherwise, I will simply assume that the student is not attentive or he is not attending the class. Om Mane, can you unmute? Om, can you unmute? Prajwal says P plus N equal to 0. There is a slight correction in that. P plus N is not equal to 0. We have to, as the equilibrium is maintained, therefore we are going to, let us call this as X direction, let us call this as Y direction. So we are going to apply equation of equilibrium summation Fy equal to 0, and therefore we have minus P plus N equal to 0. So therefore we have P equal to N. So when P equal to N, when P is 0, N is also going to be equal to 0. Jay Mehta, can you unmute? Yes, Jay.
Hello. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Keep yourself unmuted. So P is equal to N. So when P equal to 0, N is also going to be equal to 0. Now, in that particular case, can you tell me by intuition, what is the force F required to make this block slide over each other? Just slide over each other.
Limiting friction.
No, can you tell me the value when P equal to 0 and N equal to 0?
The value.
Yes, go ahead.
No idea, sir. For the value thing.
Okay, anyone else? You have already done this in 11th and 12th standard physics, so you must have.
Sir, it is equal to the mass of the smaller block and into
No,
G.
I said that both the objects are massless.
Sir,
Yeah,
anything over 0.
anything over 0. Yes. So what? Who is this? Rahul, is it?
Yes, sir.
Rahul, keep yourself unmuted for some time. So therefore, anything slightly greater than 0. So therefore, if you increase F by even a small amount above 0, the sliding is going to happen. Do you agree with me?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Yes. So therefore, अब जरा यहाँ पे देखो मैं क्या plot कर रहा हूँ. This F, I am just denoting here by a different notation. I am going to call it as FF max. It will be clear why I am calling it that in a while. But if F is equal to FF max, then for N being equal to 0, this F required just to maintain equilibrium is 0. Anything above 0 and the motion commences. So I will plot the first point on this graph. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now what if F is 10? What will be the value of N? N will also be equal to 10 because equilibrium is still satisfied and we can still apply this equation. So when F is 10, N is also going to be equal to 10. Do you agree with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now in that case, what will be the value of F required for which the motion between the two blocks is just about to occur? Bolo. I'm relying on your 12th standard knowledge, physics knowledge. Yes, Rahul, go ahead.
Sir, can you repeat the question?
Let us say P equal to 10. I will also assign some unit to it. Let us say P equal to 10 Newton. Then N is also going to be equal to 10 Newton. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Okay. And then now I am asking you a question. What will be the value of F above which the motion, relative motion between the two blocks or sliding between the two blocks is going to occur?
Greater than 10.
No, sir.
Greater than 10? No. Anyone else?
Sir, it's like saying the mass is weight of that object is 10, so it will be mu into 10.
Yeah, but come out of that. I have said that the block is massless. I am
Yes, sir, I said
applying this
mu
P
into 10. 10 times mu. 10,
10
10
times.
times frictional coefficient.
Yeah, very good. Who is speaking?
Atharva Kadam.
Okay, Atharva, keep yourself unmuted for some time. So it is going to be 10 times mu. Do you agree with me? Atharva?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, 10 times mu, but I will just make a small modification here. Instead of calling it as mu, I am going to call it as mu s, coefficient of static friction. You must have heard this term, right?
Yes, sir.
So why do we call it as coefficient of static friction?
Because
Because the blocks are not moving over one another and they are just about to move. Do you agree with me?
yes, sir.
So therefore, uh, the blocks have not ventured into the motion. So there are two branches of mechanics. One is statics, another is dynamics. In dynamics, we deal with the motion, whereas in statics, we deal with the objects which are at rest. Do you agree with me?
Yes, sir.
These two blocks are at rest with reference to one another, and therefore we call this coefficient of friction as coefficient of static friction, because motion has not yet commenced. Do you agree with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Atharva says that this value is going to be 10 times mu s. So therefore, on x-axis, when n is equal to 10, the value of the force at which the motion has not yet begun, but it is going to begin. If you increase the force just beyond this, the motion is going to commence. What is that value? So he says it is 10 times mu s. Are you with me,
Yes, sir.
Atharva? Okay, now
Yes.
what if I make this force as 20 Newton? What is going to happen? Follow?
Same. 20,
Huh.
20 times mu s.
So if it is 20 times mu s, that means if I double the value of n, if the force required to commence the motion also has doubled, that means the variation or the graph is linear in nature. Do you agree with me?
Yes, sir.
So therefore, this is equal to 20 times mu s. Do you agree with me, Atharva?
Yes, sir.
Okay, next question. If the P is now P is 100 Newton, what will be this value? 100 times mu s. If P is P, what will be this? If N is P, then what will be the value? N times
Mu.
mu s. Do you agree with me? So are we writing a relationship between the force required to commence the motion and N? Do you agree with me?
Sir.
किसके बीच में हम रिलेशनशिप लिख रहे हैं? We are writing down the relationship between F and N. Do you agree with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what is the relationship? F is equal to mu s times N. Happy?
Yes.
Are you with me?
Yes, sir. The slope will be
Slope of this graph will be mu s. Excellent. Now let me ask you another question. When P goes on increasing, why do you require to provide this F which is greater than 0? For example, if the force P is 10 Newton, N is 10 Newton, and at that time you will require a force of at least 10 mu s to have impending motion between the two blocks. Are you with me? So why do you require this force to be non-zero to commence the motion? Because there is going to be a frictional resistance offered along this surface. Do you agree with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So therefore, to counter that frictional resistance, you need to apply force F. So जो मैंने plot किया अभी y-axis पे, can I say that F is in fact the maximum frictional resistance that can be offered between the two surfaces for given value of P? Do you agree with me?
Yes.
So for example, if P is equal to 10 Newton, the maximum frictional resistance that can be offered along these surfaces which resist this sliding is 10 times mu s. The moment F crosses this maximum frictional resistance, the sliding is going to commence. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Okay. So therefore, the F that I have plotted on y-axis is in fact the maximum frictional force, that frictional resistance that can be provided along the surfaces in contact for given value of P. Happy? Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
So this is, I'm going to replace this F by FF max. So it is maximum frictional resistance that can be offered between the two surfaces for a given value of n. Now can you tell me what is n?
N equal to P.
In this particular case. Now let me cast another example. Let us say this is a block and this is another block and this is P. Now can you tell me what will be n in this particular case? If I were to write down the maximum frictional resistance that can be offered at the surfaces in contact, what will be the value of n?
N equal to P sin
P
theta.
sine or cos?
1 second, sir. P cos theta. Sure. P cos theta.
P cos theta. जिसके बीच में थीटा वो एंगल cos theta. This is the rule that you have to remember. ठीक है, अगर मैंने थीटा यहाँ पे दिखाया होता हॉरिजॉन्टल के साथ, then what you have said was correct, that it is P sin theta. Are you with me? But as I have shown the angle with vertical, ये vertical component of P is going to be P cos theta. And when I apply summation Fy equal to 0, what do I get? P cos theta, which is negative,
Equal to N.
plus n is equal to 0. So the value of n is equal to P cos theta. Do you agree with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So can you now tell me in unambiguous words, what is n?
N.
That's a by definition. What do we call n as?
The reaction force offered by the ground.
No, it's not only reaction force. We call it as normal reaction. Do you agree with me?
Reaction.
So we have learned in 11th and 12th standard physics that we call this n as normal reaction. Do you agree with me? Ground can offer reaction in two directions, two orthogonal directions. This is also the reaction that can be offered by the ground. Do you agree with me?
Yes, sir.
But out of that, I am only choosing a particular reaction which I call it as normal reaction. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Now I am going to ask you a question. Normal to what?
Normal to the gravitational vector.
Normal to what is the next question. If you bring in gravity here, but then to define friction, we will also always have to consider gravity. ऐसे नहीं है, gravity का इससे कोई लेना देना नहीं है. So normal to what is the question that we are asking? Are you with me? You said something.
Normal to surface.
Which surface?
On which the block is.
Sliding, is it?
Yes, sir.
So the block is sliding along this surface. So I'm interested only in the reaction offered normal to this. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Okay, so we understood normal to what. But just to make this point crystal clear, I'm going to ask you another question. Imagine that this is the terrain, this is the ground terrain on which this ball is resting. Are you with me?
Yes.
Now, I'm interested in finding out frictional resistance that can be offered at this surface of contact or this line of contact. Are you with me? Atharva?
Yes, sir.
Now, in this case, what is n? Tell me.
It will
Both
be
the
the.
surfaces which are in contact are curved in nature. Do you agree?
It will take the tangent vector.
Exactly.
At
So
that
therefore, wherever there is a contact, we are going to not tangent vector, we are going to draw a common tangential plane. Are you with me?
Yes.
This plane will be seen as a line in this view, but you have to understand that in fact it is a plane in which this line of contact, which is seen as a point, lies. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
So it is something like this. It is a plane. Happy? And any reaction offered by the objects over one another normal to this plane is plane ke sath normal. That is our normal direction in this particular case. Happy?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so थोड़ा सा और clarify किया हम लोगों ने कि what is normal reaction. Normal to what? So you have to draw a tangential plane along that that occupies all the points in contact. between the two surfaces, and perpendicular to that tangential surface, whichever is the direction, that direction we call it as normal direction. And reaction offered by one object on the another in that direction, that normal direction, is what we are going to look at. Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay, so we are absolutely clear now. What do we mean by N? We are absolutely clear about what do we mean by left hand side. It is the maximum frictional resistance, FF max. Now question, why do you believe this law? Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
क्यों believe करते हैं हम इस law को? So therefore you have to understand that there is no logical or analytical or mathematical explanation for this law. This law is the outcome of series of experiments conducted. So all across the globe, even outside the earth in the space, the experiments have been conducted where it was found that the maximum frictional resistance is directly proportional to the normal reaction, and the constant of proportionality was given a name as coefficient of static friction. Are you with me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So what were the observations of the experiments? Similar experiments must have been conducted all across the world and outside the earth in space as well, and they found that this force varies as a linear function of n everywhere. This maximum frictional force between the two objects varies as a linear function of n, first observation, and the slope we define it by mu s. That slope is dependent upon the materials out of which the two objects are made up of. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
So this mu s will go on varying if you vary the materials. For example, one object is of steel, another object is of concrete. You will have one value of mu s. If one object is steel, another is copper, you will have another value of mu s, so on and so forth. So it is a property of materials which are in contact. Happy? Okay. Now, second question that I am going to ask you is this. When there is no P at all, that means when P equal to 0, why don't we require any effort to start sliding? थोड़ा सा भी 0 से आगे फोर्स गया तो स्लाइडिंग शुरू हो जाता है. ऐसे कैसे? Are you with me?
Because we assumed that it is massless.
No, this has nothing to do with the assumption of massless. Massless मैंने सिर्फ एक ही चीज के लिए assume किया है, because if these are not massless objects, then P can never be equal to 0. Are you with me?
Oh.
हाँ, तो इसलिए मैंने massless का assumption किया है. But if P equal to 0, still ये बात कुछ हजम नहीं हुई. As the two surfaces are in contact, why should you require virtually no force to start sliding? Are you with me?
Sir, if P is equal to 0,
हाँ.
P is equal to 0, then N also will be nearly equal to 0.
So this law says that F should be maximum frictional force that can be produced between the two surfaces is 0 if N equal to 0. Question is now why? Are you with me? So let us try to understand that question, or uske liye we are going to perform another thought experiment. Are you with me? Atharva?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now imagine that this is a tabletop on which you have kept a duster, like this, and the area in contact, जो area, the bottom surface of the duster is in contact with tabletop. That area is A. Are you with me? And on this, again, we will neglect the masses of both the objects. We will assume that the duster doesn't have a mass, but you are going to apply force P here. Are you with me?
Yes.
P. So it is quite easy to understand that normal reaction also is going to be equal to P. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
So normal reaction is also going to be equal to P, because equilibrium is satisfied. Even if this duster slides over the table, equilibrium in y direction is still maintained because the object is not moving in y direction. Do you agree with me?
Yes, sir.
So the equilibrium in y direction is always maintained. So I can always write N is equal to P. Happy?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And now I am looking at what is the maximum frictional resistance that can get generated between the bottom surface of the duster and the tabletop. And let me call this force that I require to commence sliding of this duster over the table. Sliding impending है, sliding has not yet begun, but the maximum force F that I can apply without the sliding is just about to begin. तो वो force अगर समझो 100 न्यूटन है. Are you with me?
Hmm.
So that
Yes.
means 100.00000001 Newton and sliding begins. Happy?
Hmm.
Okay. Now what I am going to do is same object, same duster made up out of same material, same tabletop made up of same material. I am just going to double this cross sectional area. ये जो A मैंने मार्क किया है ना, उसको उस डस्टर के एरिया को मैं डबल करने वाला हूँ. Are you with me?
Sir, 1 second. In the previous diagram, you are applying force in the minus x direction.
Yes. So sliding will start in minus x direction.
Okay.
That is immaterial in which direction the sliding starts. Are you with me? Now, what I have done is here I have just doubled this cross sectional area. Cross sectional area is now 2a. Are you with me?
Hmm.
And
Yes.
I have maintained the same force. P तो मैंने same ही रखा. So
Hmm.
N is equal to P. वो तो relationship change नहीं होने वाला है. Are you with me?
Hmm.
So this is equal to N, which is equal to P. Question: what will be the force F that you will require to commence the sliding? कितना force लगेगा बोलो? What is your intention? The area is doubled.
Material is
same.
same, right?
Material is same. Yeah, tell me. Somebody said same. What is your opinion, Atharva?
Sir, at I'm
हाँ,
thinking if the P in both the cases will be different.
no, no,
Because
no. You can't change the conditions of the experiment. I am maintaining the same P, and I am asking you the question: what will be the F required to start sliding in the second case? Are you with me? Problem statement ही change नहीं कर सकते. What I am trying to say is P we are going to maintain same. दोनों तरफ P की वैल्यू हम सेम मेंटेन कर रहे हैं. I have doubled the area of the duster, and now if I ask you, if with area A F equal to 100 Newton was the force at which the sliding between the duster and table was impending, that means you increase a force slightly beyond 100 Newton and sliding commences. Now if I maintain this material same, only area in contact is doubled and P is also maintained same. My question is, what will be the value of F required to commence the sliding? Will it be equal to 100 Newton? Will it be
yes.
less than 100 Newton? Or will it be greater than 100 Newton? Yeah, tell me, what is your opinion?
Same.
Somebody said same. What is your opinion?
Same, sir.
And why do you think so? Because if you just look at the law of friction, this is also called as law of friction. So it is only a function of normal reaction. It is not a function of area in contact. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Therefore, in this situation, we will require F equal to 100 Newton itself to have impending motion between the duster and the tabletop. But ये बात कुछ हजम नहीं हुई because intuitively we feel that more area is in contact. Therefore, we should require more force to commence the sliding. Do you agree with me? Everybody must have faced this doubt in their minds. हमने ये लॉ तो लिख लिया, उसको हम बिलीव तो करते हैं, but we must have had this doubt in our mind that if we double the cross-sectional area, we should require more force to commence the sliding. Do you agree with me, Atharva?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
जिसने आंसर दिया था कि same force will be required first time, I'm sure that intuitively answer is right, but intuitively we all must have this doubt that if I double the area in contact, I should require theoretically more force. ये हमारा thinking होगा intuitive. Are you with me? अथर्व?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now, so let us look at why do we require same force to commence sliding in both the cases. तो उसके लिए हमें पहले ये देखना है कि फ्रिक्शनल फोर्स दो ऑब्जेक्ट्स के बीच में जनरेट ही क्यों होता है. व्हाट इज द रीजन? So therefore I am going to draw these two objects. One is duster and I am going to draw it in this view. So I am going to look along the z direction. So I will see this as a duster and I will see this as a tabletop. Are you with me?
Yes, sir. Sir,
Yeah.
I am understanding this if the objects have masses, because there will be more resistance if surface area is more, but then also at that point there will be some mass, so n will also increase, hence the force will increase.
Don't bring mass in. We have kept the object to be massless. Thought experiment ही चल रहा है. Are you with me? Whatever I am going to say is true even with the masses. So for time being, keep the masses aside. We are saying, or we can, at the most we can say that P is inclusive of mass, mg. Are you with me? Who raised the doubt?
Me, Atharva.
Atharva Kadam or Atharva Patil?
Atharva Kadam.
Okay. So for time being, keep the mass aside. Mass is going to generate an additional force which is equal to mg, and that mg can be now considered into P itself. Are you with me?
Okay.
So keep that aside. Whatever we are doing now is applicable even when there is a presence of mass. Now this is tabletop and this is duster. Are you with me? No. If you look at these two surfaces in contact microscopically, these surfaces are not going to be plane in true sense. They are going to have undulations. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
So this is a duster surface and this is a tabletop surface. Are you with me?
Yes.
When you don't have any normal force acting along this surface in contact, when this pair of forces is zero, are you with me? These crests and troughs of both the surfaces are not engaged in one another. Do you agree with me? There is no effort to engage the crust and troughs of two surfaces in contact. Agreed?
Yes.
So as there is no engagement, when you try to slide one surface over the other, you don't have to break any engagement between the crest and troughs. Do you agree with me? So therefore, frictional force that can be offered between the two surfaces is zero when these normal forces are zero. Are you with me? Atharva?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Now, as you go on increasing this force, there is better and better engagement between the crests and troughs. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
So as this force goes on increasing, the engagement between the crests and troughs of both the surfaces, it becomes under the pressure. Do you agree with me?
Yes. Yes.
So as the force increases, it is under more and more pressure. So you will have to take more and more effort to break this engagement, and therefore the maximum frictional force that is offered goes on increasing. Is the logic? Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay, so here there are two things important here. One, whether normal reaction is zero or non-zero. One thing, if it is zero, there is no engagement of crest and trough of two surfaces in contact, and therefore there is not going to be the sliding. There is not going to be any sliding resistance. That is first thing. Second thing, as I go on increasing P, N also goes on increasing, but more than N, I am interested in the pressure under which this engagement has been achieved between the crest and troughs of two surfaces in contact. Do you agree with me? More this pressure, more is the frictional resistance that is required to start sliding along the surfaces in contact. तो अब ये जरा pressure calculate करने की हम कोशिश करते हैं. Are you with me? तो let us have a look at first case where the cross-sectional area of a duster which is in contact with the table is A. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
I will show the crests of this surface by dots. So these are crests. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
So there are going to be n number of crests in one line, and there are going to be such m lines. Are you with me? So in this, you are going to have m lines, and along this direction, you are going to have n number of crests in one line. Happy? Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
So what is the total number of crests that this area have? M multiplied by n. Would you agree?
Yes, sir.
Now, these crests are engaged with, let us say, the troughs of table, which are same in number. And what is the force under which this engagement occurs? So total force is N, which is equal to P. So the force, or the in some sense pressure under which this engagement occurs, is P divided by M into N. Do you agree with me?
Yes, sir.
So at each crest level, there is an engagement between the crest of duster, let us say, and trough of table under the force of P divided by M into N. Do you agree with me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. The moment you double the cross sectional area, जैसे ही आप क्रॉस सेक्शन एरिया डबल करते हो, what can you say about this number of crests? This number of crests, it is going to get doubled. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
So this engagement becomes, if I make it double, then what about P? P is going to remain same. Happy?
Yes.
So P remains same. The pressure is dropped by half. Are you with me? And number of, is it going to become double or 4 times? Let us do it rigorously. 1 minute. Just a minute. So if I have to make this area twice, so let me assume that this dimension is B and this dimension is D. So I will simply make this as 2B. Do you agree with me?
Okay.
And this will remain D. So the area becomes 2B into D. So the moment I make it 2B, instead of M rows, you are going to have 2M rows of crests. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
And however, in this direction, you are going to have only n number of crests. So what are the total number of crests you are having? 2m into n. Happy? So number of crests have been doubled, but P is constant. So therefore, each crest is in contact with the trough of table under now half the force. P upon 2 into m into n. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
But at the same time, the number of engagements have doubled. Are you with me?
Number of
Number of
engagement.
engagement of trough and crest are doubled. Do you agree?
Yes, yes.
हाँ, so हम सिर्फ ये सोचते हैं because the cross sectional area has been doubled, the number of engagements have been doubled, so we should require greater force to start sliding. But we never think that P is same, and therefore the pressure under which the engagement is occurring now becomes half. So these are balancing effects. Are you able to understand this now?
Yes.
And therefore, even if we double the cross-sectional area, for same value of P and N, you are going to require same value of force to start sliding. It is independent of cross-sectional area. Are you with me?
Yes.
Are you with me?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So,
So,
sir,
yeah, go ahead.
so sir, in the case 1 and 2,
Yes. Case 1 and 2.
the P that you have shown will be different.
No,
P is
you
different.
don't change the problem. What I am trying to say is you apply the same
The,
P in both the cases. Can't you apply same P? Are you with me?
okay, right. Yeah, got it, got it. Yes.
This is the thing that we are controlling. The P,
Yes, sir,
we are
yes, sir.
applying it
Cleared.
externally. The question itself is based on the assumption that I am applying same P. Are you with me?
Yes, yes, cleared, cleared.
Okay. So therefore, I think we have now understood this law of friction in more depth, and we have cleared all the aspects about this law of friction. Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay. So we have now this law of friction in place. We are going to now make one more thought experiment. Imagine that you change the surfaces. For first surfaces, let us say I start with steel and steel. Both the objects are made up of steel. And I get this line as the graph relationship between N and maximum frictional force. Are you with me?
Hmm.
And now I change this steel to glass. इसको मैंने glass को change किया. Are you with me?
Hmm.
So steel and glass, and I see a line like this. Are you with me?
Hmm.
So what can you say about the smoothness, or what can you say about the frictional force generated between the two surfaces for given value of n? If you look at given
For
value
both.
of n equal to 20, then for glass and steel, the
There is.
maximum friction that can be generated is lower than steel and steel. Do you agree with me?
Yes. Yes.
That
There is
means the
more resist.
contact has become smoother. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
So as the contact between two surfaces becomes more and more smooth, this line becomes more and more lean towards n axis. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
The fall of line towards n axis indicates that the surfaces of which are in contact are becoming more and more smooth. Are you with me?
Hmm. Yes.
Now, if you lubricate the surface, that means between the steel and glass, there is a lubricator. So in that case, what will be this graph? This graph will be a horizontal line. Are you with me? You apply any value of P and N. Because of lubrication, the frictional resistance that can be generated between the two surfaces is virtually zero. So this line will remain horizontal. Are you with me?
Yes.
So therefore, this x-axis indicates the case where mu s is zero or the surfaces are smooth. Are you with me?
Yes.
You can do this experiment very easily. Try walking on the floor where oil has been spilled. Are you with me?
Yes.
So there virtually mu s reduces to zero, and frictional force present between your leg and earth will be virtually zero, and you will fall down. You will slide. Are you with me?
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, as this line approaches the horizontal axis or n axis, it means that the surfaces are becoming smoother and smoother. Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the another point that we had to discuss. Now let us venture into the another question. What is the direction of frictional force? ये सब तो हमने law of friction समझ लिया, वो magnitude के लिए समझ लिया. Are you with me? We understood now what is the magnitude of maximum frictional force that can be generated between the two surfaces. Now we are going to ask another question. What is the direction of frictional force? Are you with me?
Opposite. It frictional. It will be opposite to relative motion. The object.
Yes, a relative motion of what and what?
The object and the surface. Between relative motion between the object and the surface.
Okay. So now you have given answer partially correct, and I appreciate that you tossed the word relative motion, because generally people say direction of frictional force is opposite to the direction of motion. That's not true. So you have to talk about relative motion between the two surfaces. That's correct. But there is more to it. The story doesn't end here. So let us try to understand it in more depth. When I ask you direction of frictional force, first question I'm going to ask is which body applies frictional force on which body? चलो यही example हम
Both
consider कर लेते
both
हैं.
apply on each other.
Yes. So if both the bodies are applying frictional forces on one another, is there any sense in asking the direction of frictional force? Are you with
It
me?
is on the
So this
we are
question
keeping the
itself is
object
incomplete.
concentric.
Will you agree that the question itself is incomplete? You have
Yes.
to ask direction of the frictional force
On
offered
which object?
by body number 1 on body number 2. Are you with me?
Yes.
Or you have to ask direction of frictional force offered by body number 2 on body number 1. Are you with me?
Hmm.
हाँ तो देखो पहले क्वेश्चन ही इनकम्प्लीट है. If you simply ask what is the direction of frictional force, it doesn't make sense. You have to specify frictional force applied by which body on the other. Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay. And now I am going to give you 3 cases, and we are going to develop a methodology to understand the direction of frictional force offered by one body on the other. Are you with me?
Yes.
Chalo. Imagine that this object number 1, is moving with the velocity of 2 meter per second and towards right, and this is the object number 2. It is moving with the velocity of 3 meter per second towards right. Are you with me? Atharva, are you with me?
Yes. Yes.
Question: are these objects relatively moving with reference to one another? Yes, because अगर दोनों का velocity 3 meter per second एक ही direction में होता, then they are not relatively moving. Are you with me?
Yes.
But as the velocities are different in magnitude, even though they are same in direction, they are different in magnitude. Therefore, there is a relative motion between object number 1 and 2. And therefore, as there already is a relative motion, even though there exists a frictional force between them, it won't be equal to mu s times n. It will be equal to mu k times n. Do you agree with me? Where mu k is the coefficient of kinetic friction. Are you with me?
Yes.
Uh, these objects are not static. They are moving with reference to, relatively moving with reference to one another. So the coefficient of friction that prevails between these two surfaces in contact will be, first of all, mu k and not mu s. Happy?
Yes.
But we are right now answering the question, what is the direction of frictional force? So let us keep the magnitude aside and let me try to find out direction of frictional force applied by object number 1 on object number 2. Are you with me?
On object number 2 will be forward direction.
No, wait for that. So we are going to develop a methodology, unambiguous methodology by which we can know this direction. Are you with me? अच्छा, सो किसने किसके ऊपर लगाया हुआ फोर्स हमें चाहिए? ऑब्जेक्ट नंबर 1 ने ऑब्जेक्ट नंबर 2 के ऊपर लगाया हुआ फ्रिक्शन फोर्स हमें चाहिए, उसका डायरेक्शन चाहिए. डू यू एग्री विथ मी? So for that, if that is the case, what you are going to do is you are going to station yourself as an observer on block number 1. Are you with me? Are you with me?
Yes.
So station yourself as an observer on the object.
I said in the forward direction, right? On object 1, it will be on the forward direction, and on object 2, it will be towards left.
Yeah, so what we are trying to do is we are trying to develop a methodology of identifying the direction unambiguously. तो यही क्वेश्चन हम इस डिस्कशन के एंड में आंसर करने वाले. Are you with me?
Yes.
If you want to find out the direction of frictional force offered by object number 1 on object number 2, station yourself as an observer on object number 1. Are you with me? With reference to object number 1, where is the object 2 moving?
Forward direction.
It is moving towards right. Do you agree with me? So what I am going to observe as an observer? As an observer, I am going to observe velocity of second object with reference to the first object. Are you with me? Because I am observer and I am sitting on the object 1, I am going to observe velocity of second object relative to me. That means relative to object 1. Are you with me?
Yes.
And this relative velocity in this particular case is towards right of magnitude 1 meter per second. Do you agree with me? Are you with me?
Yeah.
When I sit on object number 1, I am moving with 2 meter per second towards right, and object 2 is moving with 3 meter per second towards right. So I will feel as if object number 2 is moving towards right with the velocity 1 meter per second. Are you with me?
Yes.
I am not much interested in the magnitude of velocity. I am interested in its direction. So with reference to me as an observer, that means with reference to object number 1, if object number 2 is moving towards right, it is my duty to pull its leg. So I will apply the force towards left. Are you with me? So therefore, direction of frictional force applied by object number 1 on object number 2 is in the opposite direction of relative velocity v2 with reference to 1. Happy?
Yes.
Let us do this exercise for frictional direction of frictional force applied by object number 2 on object number 1. By Newton's third law, we know it should be towards right. But let us check whether with this methodology I am going to arrive at the same answer or not. Are you with me?
Yes.
So when I want to find out frictional force applied by object number 2 on object number 1, I am going to station myself as an observer on object number 2. Happy? With reference to me, where is object 1 moving? So velocity of object number 1 with reference to object number 2, it is towards left, because I am moving now with 3 meter per second. The another object is moving only with 2 meter per second. I will see that it is going, I will see as if it is moving towards left. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
So therefore this relative velocity is towards left, and therefore the frictional resistance offered by object number 2 on object number 1 will be in this direction. Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay. So therefore, frictional resistances are offered in pairs. They have equal magnitude but opposite directions. What we should ask is frictional force offered by which object on the another, and then we can specify its direction. Are you with me?
Yes.
We are going to do few more exercises so that we get hang of showing the directions. Are you with me? So let me call this as object number 1. Let me call this as object number 2. Object number 1 is moving with the velocity 3 meter per second, and object number 2 is moving with the velocity 2 meter per second. Are you with me? चलो अब बोलो
Yes.
क्या करना पड़ेगा? I want to find out direction of frictional force offered by object number 1 on object number 2. What should I do? I should station myself where? Bolo?
On 1.
Yes. So I will station myself on 1. What is the velocity of second object with reference to the first object?
Going towards left.
It is towards left. Do you agree with me? So the frictional resistance offered by object number 1 on 2 is towards right. Are you with me?
Yes.
Now, I want to find out frictional force offered by object number 2 on object number 1. बोलो कैसे लिखूं?
By Newton's third law, towards
Yeah, by Newton's third law, it will be in the opposite direction. But with this methodology, I am going to station myself on object number 2. With reference to me, object number 1 is moving towards velocity of 1 with reference to 2 is towards right. Therefore, the frictional resistance must be towards left. Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay. Now third case. अब तीसरा केस जो हमें चाहिए वो इस एक्सपेरिमेंट के लिए इंपॉर्टेंट केस है, where there is no relative motion. मोशन तो है नहीं. Therefore, mu s is going to be in picture. Are you with me? हाँ. अब कैसे करें? क्योंकि अब तो मोशन नहीं है, बट अब impending मोशन है. Are you with me? Imagine that the object number 1, under the action of all forces it is having, is about to slide on object number 2 towards right. Are you with me? So therefore, this is the direction of impending motion. It has not yet started, but it will start. If it has to start, it will start in this direction. Are you with me?
Hmm.
Impending motion of 1/2. So if I want to find out frictional force offered by object number 1 on object number 2, where should I station myself as an observer? I will
1.
station myself as an observer on 1. Are you with me?
Yes.
What is the direction of motion of 1 with reference to 2? It is towards right. So when I sit as an observer on object number 1, I will observe object 2 to be moving towards left with reference to me. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
This is the direction of impending motion. Are you with me? Direction of impending motion of 2 with reference to 1. Happy?
Hmm. Yes.
So therefore, the frictional force must be offered by 1 on 2 in this direction. Happy?
Hmm.
Now, what is the direction of frictional force offered by object number 2 on object number 1? I am going to station myself as an observer on object number 2. With reference to me, the direction of impending motion of 1 relative to 2. 1 relative to 2 is towards right, and therefore frictional resistance must be offered towards left by 2 on 1. Happy?
Hmm.
Okay. So for both the cases, for impending motions as well as for objects which already have relative motion between one another, once and for all, we have cleared the notion of how to show the direction of frictional force. Happy?
Hmm.
Great. So we have talked about two quantities now. One is magnitude of frictional force by law of friction, and second, direction of a frictional force. Happy?
Yes.
Okay. And now we are going to venture towards this experiment, which is called as belt friction. Are you with me? So we are going to now start with the experiment, discussion on the experiment, which is called as belt friction. All of you must have at some point of time seen pulley. Have you seen the pulley? Tell me.
Yeah.
So a belt or a rope passes over this pulley, and generally this pulley wheel is free to rotate. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
But now I am considering a very specific case where I have locked this wheel. That means I am not going to allow it to rotate freely. So this is called as locked pulley. Are you with me?
Hmm.
Example, when the elevator is not moving. At that time, the pulleys above are locked. Happy?
Hmm.
Another example, car wheels when applied brake. They behave like a locked pulley. Do you agree with me?
Yes. Yes.
Now imagine that your car speed is high and you have applied sudden disc brakes. The wheels are locked. They are not able to rotate freely. What happens to the car? It slides. Do you agree with me?
Hmm. Yes.
Similarly, if the pulley is allowed to rotate and uh, you try to lift this mass M2 by adding masses on this direction, by increasing M1, the pulley itself will rotate and allow that rotation of the pulley will allow this mass M2 to get lifted up. But if I lock the pulley, then this belt or a rope has to slide over this pulley wheel, in order to have lifting of M2. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when the rope slides over this pulley surface, I am interested in finding out what is the coefficient of static friction between this belt and the pulley surface. Are you with me?
Hmm. Yes.
Why am I interested in finding out that? Because in most of the machines, you transfer energy from one point to another using belts. So we need to know what is the amount of energy that is lost in overcoming friction. So to know that, we are interested in finding out the coefficient of static and kinetic friction between the wheel and the belts. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Okay. So therefore, now I am interested in finding out what is the coefficient of static friction between the surface of this pulley wheel and this thread, rope or a belt. इसमें friction coefficient of static friction कितना है ये मुझे evaluate करना है. What is the experiment that I am going to do? I have suspended mass M2 on one side of this belt. The belt passes over this locked pulley, and on the other side I will go on adding masses. I will go on increasing M1 in such a fashion that the sliding of the belt over the pulley is about to begin, or it is impending in the direction M2 to M1. Are you with me?
Yes.
So M2 to M1 is the direction of impending motion. M2 is the mass to be lifted. M1 is the effort that is required to lift mass M2. Are you with me?
Hmm. Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to call this M1 as effort and this M2 as mass to be lifted. Are you with me?
Yes.
And as I am interested in finding out coefficient of static friction, I am going to increase M1 only up to the extent such that the motion doesn't begin. But if I increase M1 beyond that, the motion is going to commence. So इसको बोलते हैं impending motion. Are you with me?
Hmm.
Okay. Meanwhile, let us revisit the earlier example. I did not explain this terms. So जरा देखो यही example में minimum F required to just start sliding. Maximum F for which the sliding does not commence. Maximum frictional resistance between the two surfaces and F at which the motion along the contact surface is impending. All these values of F are one and the same. Do you agree with me?
Yes. Yes.
So ये सारे descriptions हैं. When the frictional resistance has reached to its capacity, we describe it by any one of these descriptors. देखो इसमें मैंने अगर question पूछा, what is the minimum F required to just start sliding? It is equal to maximum frictional resistance. Do you agree with me?
Yeah.
If I ask you the question, what is the maximum force F for which the sliding does not commence? It is equal to the maximum frictional resistance, which is the third
Yes.
descriptor. And what is the F at which the motion between the two objects is impending is one and the same. So all these four descriptors, they appear different, but they necessarily indicate the same value of force. Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay. So I will be using any one of the descriptors when I talk henceforth. You have to understand that it is one and the same. Now, my question, what do you say if I have to start lifting this M2? Will M1 required be greater than M2? Will it be equal to M2 or will it be less than M2?
We are assuming friction on the pulley and rope, so it will have to be greater than.
It will be greater than M1. And why do you think so? तो इसके लिए एक थोड़ा सा thought experiment perform करते हैं. This M1 corresponds to the force of M1 times G. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
That M1 times G is acting in vertically downward direction. And here, this M2 corresponds to a force of M2 times G. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
It acts in a vertically downward direction. Now, to pull this M2 times G up, M1 times G has to be at least equal to M2 times G. उसके बिना तो होगा नहीं. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
लेकिन उसके साथ साथ as the motion is about to commence in this direction, along this surface of contact, there is going to be frictional resistance in opposite direction. Do you agree with me? देखो, what is the direction of impending motion of belt with reference to the wheel? कौन सा है? It is in this direction. So therefore, wheel must be offering a frictional force in opposite direction. तो वो मैंने ऐसे दिखाया. Are you with me? So that frictional resistance plus M2 times G needs to be overcome by M1 times G. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
So M1 times G must be equal to M1 times G at which the motion is impending motion. Impending. from M2 to M1. M2 to M1 motion is impending. ये कितना होना चाहिए? It must be equal to M2 times G plus frictional resistance. Happy? Are you with me?
Yes.
So I understand that M1 times G is greater than M2 times G. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Now tell me, what is M1 times G to this part of the root or this part of the belt? इस belt के लिए what is M1 times G? What is
Tension.
it? Yes, it is pull or tension. कैसे? तो अब जरा यहाँ पे ध्यान दो. I am going to start my video for for a short duration, and you are going to answer the questions that I am asking. Are you able to see me? Are you able to see me? Atharva?
No, sir.
I have switched on my video. You need to go to some other view where you will see my video. Are you able to see me now? Okay, others, are you able to see me? Please
Sir.
unmute and let me know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Atharva, are you able to see me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now just look at the object or a paintbrush that I am holding, and just looking at it, tell me whether I am applying tension or compression. बोलो क्या apply कर रहा हूँ?
Tension.
How do you know? There is no way.
I can't decide.
You cannot decipher whether I am applying tension or compression. When will you be able to know whether I am applying a tension or compression? कब पता चलेगा? बोलो. If I give a cut.
There will be motion or deformation.
Yes, so deformation cannot be seen by naked eye. So therefore, the easiest way is to give a cut. If I cut this object and if my hands move apart, that means I was applying tension. Do you agree with me?
Right.
And if after giving a cut, two parts try to overlap over one another, then I was applying a compression. Do you agree with me?
Right.
So what is the take home message? Take home message is this. If I want to know whether a particular member is carrying tensile or compressive force, I need to cut the member. Are you with me? Are you with me?
Yes.
So I want to know now this portion of the belt, whether it is carrying a tension or compression. I will have to cut it like this. Are you with me?
Yes.
And now I am going to draw something called as free body diagram of this lower part. So free body diagram कैसे होगा? Free the body from all external agencies. For this part of the belt, the other part is external. So I must show what the other part must have been doing. Other part must have been applying this tension T. Do you agree with me? Are you with me?
Sir, that is friction.
No. I am drawing
the tension over there as well. Yes.
only this part. So it must be applying a tensile force T. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
And I'm going to call this part, this tension as T1. इस स्ट्रिंग के और बेल्ट के इस पोर्शन में जो टेंशन है उसको मैंने बोला T1. Are you with me?
Yes.
And now this portion of this string is massless because that mass is negligible in comparison with M1. And then Earth is also external to this system, so I need to show M1 times G. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
And when have I drawn this free body diagram? When the motion is impending. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
तो मोशन impending है मतलब चालू तो नहीं हुआ. So therefore equilibrium is maintained. So can I say summation Fy must be equal to 0? Do you agree with me?
Yes.
As the motion is impending, it has not yet begun. So therefore I can write down summation Fy equal to 0. That gives me T1 minus M1 times G is equal to 0. Do you agree with me? So T1 is equal to M1 times G. So I understand this M1 times G is nothing but tension in this part of the spring, this part of the belt, which I am going to call it as T1, and that is going to be equal to M1 times G. Happy?
Yes.
Okay. Now, If I repeat the similar exercise for this portion of the belt, I will get tension in this belt on this part, which is T2, will be equal to M2 times G. Agreed?
Yes.
Now, so can you tell me now the relationship between T1 and T2? What is the relationship between M1 times G and M2 times G? M1 times G is greater than M2 times G when the direction of impending motion is as shown. Happy?
Yes.
So therefore, I get the expression T1 must be greater than T2. Are you with me? Are you with me?
Yes. Yes.
ओके अब जरा याद ध्यान दो एक ही पुली के ऊपर एक ही बेल्ट कंटिन्यूअस बेल्ट इज पासिंग ओवर बट the tension on one side is greater than tension on the other side. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
So जिस साइड का टेंशन ज्यादा है उस साइड को हम बोलते हैं टाइट साइड. Are you with me? टाइट साइड. एंड जिस साइड का टेंशन कम है उस साइड को हम बोलते हैं स्लैक साइड. Are you with me? What is T1? T1 is always tight side tension. What is T2? T2 is always slack side tension. Where does T1 lie? T1 lies in the direction of impending motion. Where does T2 lie? T2 lies on the other part of impending motion, direction of impending motion. Are you with me?
Yes.
अच्छा अगर उल्टा हुआ, if the impending motion is in this direction, तो T1 और T2 भी रिवर्स हो जाएंगे. Happy?
Yes.
सो T1 हम किसको कहेंगे? T1 हम हमेशा इंपेंडिंग मोशन के साइड में जो बेल्ट का पोर्शन रहता है उसको कहेंगे. आर यू विथ मी?
Yes.
एंड T2 हम किसको कहेंगे? T2 उस टेंशन को कहेंगे, उस पार्ट ऑफ बेल्ट के टेंशन को कहेंगे जो पार्ट इंपेंडिंग मोशन के दूसरे अपोजिट वाले साइड में है. आर यू विथ मी? सो द मोशन शुड बी इंपेंडिंग फ्रॉम स्लैक साइड टू टाइट साइड. Am I very clear about the designations T1 and T2?
Yes, sir.
Now let me ask you another question. How much greater M1 times G will be in comparison with M2 times G? तो जितना फ्रिक्शनल रेजिस्टेंस ज्यादा उतना M1 टाइम्स G ग्रेटर रहने वाला है. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
तो फ्रिक्शनल रेजिस्टेंस ज्यादा कैसे होगा? तो उसके लिए we have to derive a relationship between T1 and T2, which I will show you the path that will be derived in the theory class. But I am going to give you the result first. We will interpret the result first, and then I will show you the direction in which this expression can be derived. But the exact derivation in detail will be taken only in theory class. Are you with me? Are you with me?
Yes.
So the relationship is this: T1 upon T2 is equal to e raised to mu s beta. चलो एक एक टर्म को देखते हैं. What is T1? T1 is tight side tension. Agreed? What is T2? T2 is slack side tension. So I will write it: tight side tension, tight side tension, and T2 is slack side tension. What is mu s? Mu s is coefficient of static friction. Are you with me? Coefficient of static friction between belt and pulley. Happy? Are you with me?
Yes.
And what is beta? Beta is called as angle of lap, which is expressed in radians. And what it is that I'm going to explain you now. So I will draw a zoomed view of that pulley. So this is how the belt is passing over this pulley. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
I have shown the belt. Let me show belt in different colors so that you understand what I'm trying to say. चलो अब मैं क्या करने वाला हूं देखो. to the center of this pulley, I am going to join a point. कौन सा point? तो मैं सबसे पहले locate करूंगा कि ये जो belt है सबसे पहले कौन से point के contact में आया. Are you with me? And I am going to draw a radius vector from the center of the pulley till that point, first point of contact between the belt and pulley. Are you with me? Then I am going to locate a point where the belt and pulley lost the contact. Hereafter, there is no contact between belt and pulley. And I am going to draw another radius vector. Are you with me? Are you with me?
Yes.
अब जरा यहाँ ध्यान दो, ये जो दो रेडियस वेक्टर है उनके बीच में दो एंगल्स है. कौन कौन से? एक एंगल विच आई एम मार्किंग इन ब्लू and there is another angle which I will be marking in green. Both are same here in this particular case, but there are two ways of looking at the angle between these two radii vectors. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
अब उसमें से वो वाला एंगल चूज करो जो जिस साइड में बेल्ट इज कंटिन्यूअसली इन कांटेक्ट विद द पुली. तो कौन सा वाला? ये चूज करना पड़ेगा. आर यू विथ मी?
Yes.
And that angle by definition is beta when expressed in radians. So what is the value of beta here? Can you tell me? In this particular case, the value of beta is pi. Happy?
Yes.
Okay. Let us do few exercises and you are going to tell me the value of beta. Are you with me? Chalo. This is M2 to be lifted and this is effort P. Can you tell me what is the value of beta in this particular case?
3/2 by.
नहीं, let us do it religiously. पहले जैसे बताया वैसे करते हैं. This is the first point of contact. This is the another point of contact. This is the side on which there are two sides. कौन से साइड है? एक तो ये एंगल हो सकता है, पर इस साइड में बेल्ट है ही नहीं. डू यू एग्री विथ मी?
Yes.
तो वो एंगल नहीं लेना है. कौन सा एंगल लेना है? मैंने बताया जिस साइड में बेल्ट है वो वाला एंगल लेना है. सो इन दिस केस the angle will be 90 degree or pi by 2 radians. Do you agree with me?
Okay, the other angle is beta.
That's why it is called as angle of lap. It is that part, वो part लेना है जहाँ पे the belt is in continuous touch with the wheel. Are you with me?
Okay.
Okay. And now I am going to show you another case and you are going to tell me the value of beta. Belt, I will show it different color. This is M2 and this is effort P. Can you tell me beta now? क्या करना पड़ेगा? First point in contact, last point in contact. Are you with me?
Yes.
अब दो एंगल से एक एंगल ये है और दूसरा एंगल बिटवीन दिस टू रेडिया वेक्टर इज दिस वन. तो देखो दोनों में से कौन से साइड में बेल्ट इज इन कंटिन्यूअस कांटेक्ट विद द पुली? द वन व्हिच इज मार्क्ड इन रेड. डू यू एग्री विथ मी?
Yes.
हाँ. सो हाउ मच इज दिस एंगल? दिस एंगल इज
240.
हाँ. तो कैसे लिखूं बोलो? इट इज pi plus pi by 2 if you agree with me. So it is going to be equal to 3 pi by 2. Agreed?
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's beta. This is what we call as angle of lap. Happy?
Yes.
Angle of lap, but you have to express it in radians, not in degrees. Happy? And how did we arrive at this relationship? So to arrive at this relationship, you are going to require these basics. Are you with me? So these basics along with the concept of integration, and you will be able to derive this expression. कैसे करना है? At the end of experiment discussion, I will tell you that. But that being a purely mathematical part, I am not going to spend much time on that here. But you have to understand that जो पहले हमने discuss किया, you must be equipped with those concepts in order to derive this expression. Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay. So we have now developed a relationship between T1, T2, E, mu s and beta. Happy? अब experiment हमें plan करना है. What is the output that I seek from the experiment? I seek to calculate mu s. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Experiment ऐसे डिजाइन करना है कि जिसमें मुझे mu s calculate करना पड़े. So what are the quantities that I should be able to control in the experiment or measure in the experiment? Those quantities will be T1, T2 and beta. Are you with me?
Yes.
These are the quantities that I either control or measure in the experiment, and then I will be able to find out mu s. Happy?
Yes.
हाँ, ऐसे हमें एक्सपेरिमेंटल सेट करना है. ऐसे भी बताया जा सकता है कि डायरेक्टली एक्सपेरिमेंटल सेटअप कैसा है, उससे ही स्टार्ट करो ये एक्सपेरिमेंट, ये रिलेशन दो, एंड देन यू कैन डू द कैलकुलेशंस. बट देन देयर इज नो फन. You should be in a able, you should be in a position to understand why the experiment is designed in that fashion. Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay. So having said that, now we are going to do few thought experiments. If I set this mu s to 0, what will be T1 and what will be the relationship between T1 and T2? Tell me.
Equal.
Yes, because e raised to 0 will become 1. E raised to 0 is 1. So T1 upon T2 will then become equal to 1. So T1 will become equal to T2. That means if the pulley is frictionless, there is no tight side and slack side. Do you agree with me? Both the sides, they carry equal amount of tension. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, e raised to e is 2.76 something. E raised to mu s beta is always going to be greater than 1. So therefore, T1 is going to be always greater than T2. Do you agree with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what if beta equal to 0? Beta equal to 0 is nonsense. That means the pulley is not at all effective. Beta can be 0 only in this situation. Do you agree with me? So it
Yes.
is as if the rope is straight. It is not deriving. It has nothing to do with the pulley. Are you with me? So
Yes.
बीटा 0 हो नहीं सकता. म्यू एस 0 हुआ तो T1 और T2 इक्वल हो जाएंगे. बीटा 0 नहीं हो सकता. म्यू एस 0 से ऊपर ही रहना है, नेगेटिव नहीं हो सकता. Therefore, e raised to mu s beta will always be greater than 1, and therefore T1 by T2 T1 will be always greater than T2. At the most, T1 can be equal to T2 when mu s is 0. Are you with me?
Yes.
So these are all the limits that we have from this expression. T1 upon T2 is equal to e raised to mu s beta. Now let us talk about the experiment. So we are going to discuss experimental procedure, and then we are going to close this experiment discussion today, and we are going to stop. So it is 11 now. I will take another maybe 15 minutes, and then we are going to close for today. Are you with me?
Yes.
So how is the experimental setup here? So for that, what I'm going to show you is the schematic of the experimental setup. You have a pole like this, which rests firmly on the ground, and this pole has a wooden board, seen something like this. Plywood board is attached to this pole. Are you with me?
Yes.
Like this. This is dotted line because it is behind the plywood board, and you have a connection here. So you have a nut bolt connection here. So as you tighten this bolt, as you tighten the nut, this plywood wheel becomes fixed to this pole. Are you with me? जैसे ही आप इस नट को लूज करते हो, यू कैन रोटेट दिस प्लाईवुड व्हील इजीली. हैप्पी? अच्छा, इस प्लाईवुड व्हील का पर्पस क्या है मैं बताता हूँ शॉर्टली. बट ऑन दिस प्लाईवुड व्हील you have different markings of the angles. Are you with me? So you are going to have 10 degree, 5 degree, 15 degree, so on and so forth. ये marking रहने वाला है. Are you with me? Up to 360 degree. Happy? Are you able to imagine what I am trying to say?
Yes, yes.
And then on this wheel itself, uh, you will have an arrow mark. ये arrow mark है. So whatever is the reading of angle that you see in front of this arrow mark is beta. Are you with me? Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, how do we change beta? How do we control beta? तो उसके लिए next arrangement देखते हैं. So, concentric to this plywood board, you are going to have a locked pulley. Are you with me? This is a locked pulley. So, as you tighten this nut, both plywood wheel, plywood sheet, and this pulley, they get locked. Are you with me? Are you able to imagine this? This is a locked pulley. So once you tighten the bolt nut, this pulley and this plywood sheet, they are firmly held with reference to one another. You have a movable pulley somewhere here, which is very small in diameter in comparison with this locked pulley. So what is this? This is free pulley. Are you with me? So free pulley का क्या मतलब है? First of all, this pulley is free to rotate. So even if a bolt is passing over this pulley, there will be a marginal frictional resistance there because rolling friction is significantly lesser than the static friction. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Second, the diameter of this free pulley is going to be very small than lock pulley. So therefore, when the belt passes over the lock pulley, it will be in the contact for more length in comparison with the free pulley. So therefore, we can neglect the frictional resistance at the contact of belt and free pulley. And the frictional resistance between belt and pulley is only on account of its contact with locked pulley. Are you with me?
Yes.
तो अब जरा याद ध्यान दो. A belt passes over this pulley in this fashion. Happy? What is beta? Tell me. So beta calculate अगर मुझे करना है तो I will have to draw this line and I will have to draw this line. This value will be beta. Happy? Are you with me? This angle is going to be beta. Agreed? Now this beta, these numbers are calibrated in such a fashion that this beta is automatically can be read looking at this arrow location. Happy?
Yes.
So you need not measure it here. You can directly read it here. Happy?
Yes.
Sure. How do I change beta? So I will loosen this nut. I will rotate this plywood wheel down so that this free pulley will come somewhere else. The moment the free pulley comes here after rotating this wheel, I will lock this nut and then the beta will be something different. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Now beta will become this way. So in a way, I have a mechanism to control beta by using this plywood sheet and free pulley. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Okay. So now let us take one beta for an example. And now what are we going to do in this experiment? So in this experiment, the impending motion can either be in this way or it can be the reverse way, whatever it is. So if impending motion is in this direction, I'm going to call this as M1. Do you agree with me? And I'm going to call this as M2. Happy? Then T2 is going to be equal to M2 times G. Agreed?
Yes.
And I am going to go on adding masses here m1 such that at a particular mass, the motion commences from m2 to m1. Happy?
Yes.
At that time, I am going to call the tension in the spring as m1 times g. What is that m1? That m1 is that m1 for which the motion is impending from m2 to m1. Happy?
Yes.
Now, let me run through a fictitious set of reading. Let us say m2 is equal to 1000 gram. Are you with me?
हाँ.
m2 1000 gram है. Therefore, you will start with m1 equal to 1000 gram. उतना तो चाहिए कम से कम. Happy?
Yes.
When m1 is equal to 1000 gram, the motion does not commence from m2 to m1. Then you go on adding the mass here. So आपने क्या किया? इसको 1000 को 1100 ग्राम किया. Are you with me?
Yes.
But then the motion did not commence. Then आपने क्या किया? इसको 1200 किया. Are you with me?
Yes.
The motion did not commence. Then you made it 1300. No, motion did not commence. Then 1400. M1 अब हो गया 1400. Motion did not commence. You made it 1500. And you could see motion. M2 started moving towards M1. Are you with me? Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay. So now can you tell me what will be the value of T1? बोलो T1 की वैल्यू क्या होगी?
0.5.
Pardon?
1.5 into G.
No, it will be 1.4 into G because I want to find out T1 for which the motion is impending. At 1500 G, when I applied M1 equal to 1500 gram, the motion did commence. Do you agree with me?
Okay, so between 140.
So therefore the value of T1 has to be in between 1400 and 1500. Do you agree with me?
Yes, between.
हाँ, तो अब अगर हमें ये रिजोल्यूशन अच्छा करना है तो हम क्या कर सकते हैं? After 1400, we will start increasing the mass at smaller intervals. I will start increasing it at the interval of 20 grams. Are you with me?
Yes.
So 1420 motion did not commence. 1440 motion did not commence. 1460 motion did commence. So what is the value of T1? 1440. Now I cannot go beyond this resolution. I cannot have the masses of 10 gram and all with the accuracy. Are you with me? Are you with me?
Yes.
So therefore, I will take 1440 gram as M1 and I will say the T1 can be varied by plus or minus 20 gram. Are you with me?
Yes.
That's okay. So therefore, what I wanted to impress upon you is जिस mass के लिए motion commence हुआ उसके पहले वाला reading लेना है. Happy?
Yes.
And that reading will be in gram. You have to convert that into kg multiplied by 9.81 and get T1. Happy?
Yes.
So first part of this experiment is very easy. उसमें हम क्या करने वाले? We are going to keep beta constant. So I will choose a particular value of beta. So let me say I take beta is equal to 60 degree, which is pi by 3. Are you with me? Pi by 3 radians. I am going to keep beta constant. And in this experiment, I will go on changing T2. So I will have different values of M2 and I will calculate value of M1 required to lift that M2. Are you with me? तो चलो ऑब्जर्वेशन टेबल इस एक्सपेरिमेंट का कैसे दिखेगा? फर्स्ट पार्ट ऑफ द एक्सपेरिमेंट का. सो आई एम गोइंग टू कीप बीटा इक्वल टू पाई बाय 3. हैप्पी? Then I am going to go on changing M2. So let me say serial number. So I have 5 readings: 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. In these 5 readings, I will take different values of M2. Are you with me? So I am going to call it as M21, M22.
Sir, we are finding mu, right?
Yes, I will
Then
come to that.
then we can take simpler values of beta, right?
We can take simpler values. Yeah, you can take it as 90 degree. It's okay. You can take it as 180 degree, whatever it is. So that's what I said. I will take beta equal to some value and I will keep it constant. Are you with me?
Okay, okay.
So M3. So let us say I am taking 5 readings in which I go on changing M2. तो पहले M2 था, let us say 500 grams. Then it became 1000. Then 1500, 2000 gram and 2500 gram. Are you with me? This is in grams. So you will have to convert it into Newton. तो क्या करना पड़ेगा? 1000 से डिवाइड करना पड़ेगा तो केजी में आ जाएगा एंड 9.81 से मल्टीप्लाई करना पड़ेगा. Do you agree with me? So I get the value of T2 as M2, which is in grams, divided by 1000. So it becomes in kg multiplied by 9.81. Do you agree with me? तो ये न्यूटन में आ जाएगा. So I am going to have 5 values of T2 here. Happy? T21, T22 up to T25. Experiment कैसे रन करना है? First of all, I will set M2 to 500 gram. I will go on adding values, go on adding masses on M1 side. जिस मास को M2 लिफ्ट होना शुरू हुआ उसके पहले वाला रीडिंग ले लूंगा, उसको केजी में कन्वर्ट करके 9.8 से मल्टीप्लाई करके वो वैल्यू T2 करके यहाँ पे लिखूंगा. आर यू विथ मी? Then I will change M2 to 1000. I will repeat the same procedure. I will record T2 2. Then ऐसे करते जाऊंगा. Finally I will change M2 to 2500 and then I will go on increasing M1. जिस M1 को स्लाइडिंग शुरू हुआ उस M1 के पहले वाली M1 की वैल्यू लेके I will calculate T1. Are you with me? T1 is equal to M1G into 9.81 upon 1000. तो मुझे T1 के भी 5 वैल्यूज मिल जाएंगे. हैप्पी? And now you have a relationship in your hand. What is the relationship? Tell me. T2 upon T1, T1 upon T2 is equal to e raised to mu s beta. Beta in this particular case is pi by 3. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
ऐसे नहीं कि pi by 3 को ही सेट करना है. You can as well select it as pi by 2 and then keep it pi by 2. Are you with me? Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
And then you have 5 values of T1 and T2. 5 pairs of T1 and T2. Substitute that here. You will get the value of mu s. Can't you get the value of mu s? Easy. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
So you are going to have 5 values of mu s. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And then take the average value of mu s. Happy? Are you with me?
Yes, yes.
So this is the first part of the experiment. There is a second part of the experiment. अब हम क्या करेंगे? Instead of keeping beta constant, now we will keep M2 constant. That means we are going to keep T2 constant and we will go on changing beta. Are you with me? तो कैसे करेंगे? तो वो मैं आपको यहाँ पे ड्रॉ करके दिखाता हूँ. I will start with beta equal to 60 degree. Are you with me? So in this particular case, what is the value of beta? Beta equal to 60 degree. Happy? And let me choose the value of M2. I will keep M2 to be constant at 500 gram. So it is, so therefore W2 or T2 to be precise is going to be equal to 0.5 into 9.81 Newton. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
ये मैं कुछ भी ले सकता हूँ, 500 ऐसे नहीं, I can have 1000, I can have 2000, whatever it is, but then I am going to keep it constant once selected. Happy? Then I am going to go on adding mass M1 here, and I am going to record T1 as the first trial. So this T1 is corresponding, I will use now color code. First beta के लिए मैंने blue color use किया है. So first value will be T1. Are you with me?
Yes.
अब क्या करूंगा मैं? After this experiment is completed, I know the value of T1 at which the motion just commences from M2. Motion is about to commence from M2 to M1. This is the direction of impending motion. Now I am going to change beta. तो beta अब क्या करूंगा? Now ये नट ढीला करूंगा, ये जो प्लाईवुड व्हील है उसको रोटेट करूंगा. नाउ दिस फ्री पुली विल कम समवेयर हियर, एंड देन दिस इज गोइंग टू बी 500 ग्राम. वो तो मैं सेम रखूंगा. आर यू विथ मी? एंड नाउ दिस इज द न्यू वैल्यू ऑफ बीटा. डू यू एग्री विथ मी?
Yes.
So blue ke corresponding, what was the value of beta? It was beta 1. Now green ke corresponding, you have different value of beta, and therefore you are going to get different value of T1. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
तो यही एक्सरसाइज में 5 बीटा के वैल्यूज के लिए कंटिन्यू करूंगा. Are you with me? So what is the second part of the experiment? In second part of the experiment, I keep T2 equal to constant, which is, let us say, equal to 0.5 into 9.81. Are you with me? And I have 5 readings. कौन से? So serial number, 5 readings. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. In this 5 readings, what is going to change? Beta is going to change. So let us say beta is equal to pi by 4, then pi by 3, then pi by 2, then let us say 3 pi by 2, and let us say 5 pi by 2. I am just randomly writing down the values. Are you with me? You can choose that on your own. So पांच ऑब्जर्वेशन है, पांचों में मैंने बीटा की वैल्यू चेंज की. T2 तो कांस्टेंट है, and I am going to record T1. Are you with me? So I have 5 pairs of T1 and T2. T1 1 to T1 5. Happy? Can't I use the same expression and compute mu s? देखो कौन सा एक्सप्रेशन? T1 upon T2
T1 by 2.
is equal to e raised to mu s beta. Now beta is changing, but T2 is constant, 0.5 into 9.81. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
So I will get 5 values of mu s. Happy? Take average of these 5 values, and you will get average mu s. You have already got an average mu s here. Are you with me? Are you with me?
Yes.
Average of these two is better approximation to mu s. Do you agree with me?
Right.
But we will not stop here. We will plot this data in a graph. तो आप जरा यहाँ पे देखो, वो ग्राफ, दो अब ग्राफ डिस्कस करने वाले हैं हम. So you will get graphical values of mu s, and फिर दो graphical values of mu s and दो यहां से आने वाले values of mu s. तो टोटल 4 mu s का एवरेज लेके आप उसको mu s करके रिपोर्ट करोगे. Are you with me?
Sir, by graphs, we will get the same US got by average.
You may not. You will see that. क्यों? क्योंकि मैं अब बताता हूँ कैसे करना है, वो बताने के बाद वो क्लियर होगा. Because in graph we use the method of best fit, which is graphical method, whereas here this average is the mathematical average. Are you with me? तो इसलिए दो मेथड अलग है, उसके वजह से सेम वैल्यू नहीं मिलेगा, थोड़ा सा डिफरेंस होता है. So now T1 upon T2 is equal to e raised to mu s beta, जहां पे यहाँ पे beta is constant. Are you with me? Now tell me, T1 is equal to T2 e raised to mu s beta. ऐसे लिख सकता हूं. Are you with me?
Yes.
Now I am going to call T1 as y variable. I am going to call T2 as x, And you will see beta is constant and mu s is also going, we don't know the value of mu s, but it is going to be constant. So e raised to mu s beta is constant in this particular case. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
So can I call it as m? And what do I get? I get the equation of line y is equal to mx. Do you agree with me?
Hmm.
What is the slope of this line? Slope of this line is e raised to mu s beta. Happy? Are you with me?
Yes.
So on graph paper, which you will either draw it by hand or you can draw it on Excel, and you can use best fit options. I am going to plot T1 on y-axis and T2 on x-axis with the same scale. Are you with me?
Yes.
Same scale. Matlab 1 Newton equal to 1 centimeter. Whatever is the scale, maintain same on both the axes. Happy? And if I plot these points, first of all, these points have to pass through origin because it is not y equal to mx plus c. It is a line that passes through origin. Are you with me?
Yes.
So origin is always going to be the point in your best fit. So best fit jab karte ho, to make it pass through origin. And then remaining points can be something like this. Are you with me? These are the experimental points that you have obtained. Best fit a line such that it passes through the origin. You have that option in Excel. Are you with me? And then ask Excel itself to plot its equation on the chart. So it will give you the value of slope m. M की value आपको मिल जाएगी. That m is nothing but e raised to mu s beta. जिसमें कि आपको बीटा पता है. Beta is pi by 3 in this particular case. So you can cross estimate or you can calculate mu s. Are you with me? You can find out slope of this line on the graph. ग्राफ पे आप इस लाइन का स्लोप फाइंड आउट कर सकते हो. कैसे करोगे? या तो ये एंगल मेजर करो और उसका tan ले लो, या फिर फॉर ए नोन वैल्यू ऑफ डेल्टा x compute delta y upon delta x is going to be the slope. Are you with me? Are you with me?
Yes.
So या तो थीटा मेजर करो और उसका tan ले लो, that will be the slope m. M is equal to tan theta, and then equate that to e raised to mu s beta, जिसमें beta is known, so you will be able to calculate mu s. This is the value of mu s that you have obtained graphically. Are you with me? What are the key points when you do the best fit? It should be linear fit that passes through origin. अगर origin का point आपने नहीं लिया तो best fit सही नहीं होने वाला है. Are you with me? Okay, so this was about the first part. Now let us look at the second part. Second part में T1 upon T2, but now T2 is known, is equal to e raised to mu s beta. Do you agree with me? Are you with me?
Yes.
Now beta is changing and T2 is known, so different treatment is given. देखो अब मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ. T1 is equal to T2 e raised to mu s beta. यहाँ तक का प्रोसीजर सेम है. Are you with me? Are you with me? अब इसमें वेरिएबल्स कौन कौन से है जरा देखो. इसमें वेरिएबल है T1 एंड दूसरा वेरिएबल है बीटा. T2 इज कांस्टेंट. डू यू एग्री विथ मी? हाँ, तो बीटा जो वेरिएबल है वो मुझे एक्सपोनेंशियल में नहीं चाहिए. व्हाई डू आई नीड ए वेरिएबल इन एक्सपोनेंशियल? आई वांट इट टू बी अ नॉर्मल इक्वेशन. तो मुझे क्या करना पड़ेगा? आई विल हैव टू टेक लॉगरिथम. आर यू विथ मी? आर यू विथ मी?
Yes.
So I am going to take log to the base e of T1 is equal to log to the base e of term T2 into e raised to mu s beta. Happy? Are you with me? तो जरा राइट हैंड साइड देखो क्या है. log to the base logarithms of multiplication of two numbers is nothing but summation of logarithms of individual terms. Do you agree with me? So it is log to the base e of T2 plus log to the base e of e raised to mu s beta. Do you agree with me? Are you with me?
Yes.
I have just used the rules of logarithm. Now, what can you say about log to the base e of e raised to mu s beta? Isn't it mu s beta into log to the base e of e? देखो, T2 plus mu s beta times log to the base e of e. But log to the base e of e is 1. Happy? So this, अब जरा देखो final expression, log to the base e of t1 is equal to log to the base e of t2 plus mu s beta. अब जरा देखो यहाँ पे, I am going to call this as y. Log to the base e of t2, isn't it constant? Because t2 is constant. Do you agree with me? So therefore it is like constant plus this beta is variable. That beta I am going to call it as x, and mu s, though not known, it is going to be a constant quantity. So it is going to be m. So is it an equation of line? Y is equal to mx plus c.
Yes.
But this line now doesn't pass through origin. Do you agree with me? This line doesn't pass through origin. It passes through y-intercept of log to the base e t2. So therefore, अगर मैं ये plot करता हूँ, देखो, I am going to plot log to the base e of t1 on y-axis and beta in radians on x-axis. I am going to get a line, but that line will have a y-intercept of log to the base e of t2. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
And then you are going to have other experimental points. ये आपके पास experimental points है. देखो, आपने t1 कैलकुलेट किया है कि नहीं? तो उसका natural logarithm आपको लेना है, log to the base e, and that you are going to plot it on y-axis, and on x-axis you are going to plot beta. Happy? Are you with me?
Yes.
So आपके पास 5 points है, और एक point compulsory कौन सा होना चाहिए? ये intercept वाला. The intercept must be log to the base e t2. Are you with me? तो ये पॉइंट को कंसीडर करके फिर एक्सेल में बेस्ट फिट करना. सो यू आर गोइंग टू बेस्ट फिट ए लाइन थ्रू 6 पॉइंट्स. 5 obtained by experiment, 6th one obtained by the mathematical logic. Are you with me?
Yes.
Are we on same page? Yes. So now once I draw this line, slope of this line is nothing but mu s. Do you agree with me?
Yes. Yes.
The slope is going to be equal to mu s. How do we obtain the slope? You can measure its inclination with reference to horizontal. Take tan of that. So tan theta is going to be the slope. That slope itself is mu s. Are you with me? Are you with me?
Yes.
Yes. So here you will obtain one value of mu x graphically. Here you have obtained another value of mu s graphically. You have obtained two values of mu s using the expression and experimental results. Take average of all these four. That is the best estimate of coefficient of static friction between belt and pulley. Are you with me? Okay. So here we have concluded the explanation of second experiment. Soon I will create a Google Classroom, and maybe apart from our regular interaction, we will meet for 10 minutes where I will show you the readings of first and second experiment and what you need to submit. Okay? Are you with me?
Yes.
So next week, maybe Monday or something, just give me 10 minutes. वो 10 minutes तक मैं Google Classroom बना के रखता हूँ. उसमें ये सब राइट अप इन दोनों एक्सपेरिमेंट के उसमें होंगे, और आपको ऑब्जर्वेशन टेबल्स दे दूंगा. हाउ आर यू गोइंग टू डू द कैलकुलेशंस, व्हाट आर डिलीवरेबल्स यू आर गोइंग टू अपलोड ऑन गूगल क्लासरूम, ये बताने के लिए मुझे 10 मिनट मंडे को दे दो कभी. तो वी विल मीट फॉर 10 minutes and then you will complete all the exercises based on experiment number 1 and 2. Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay. So I am done. मुझे जो बताना था आज वो हो गया. अब किसी को कुछ डाउट है तो पूछो, otherwise you can mark your attendance and you can leave the class. I hope I have given you the link of my YouTube channel where I generally upload these lectures. Have I given?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I will upload these two discussions there shortly. अगर कुछ डाउट नहीं है तो यू कैन मार्क योर अटेंडेंस एंड लीव द क्लास, बट while marking the attendance mention your batch because there are 2 batches here. डाउट है तो पूछो.